Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Let us go to the editorial straight away. Today's editorial is all about ban related to Russian tennis players, and the tournament is Wimbledon. It's all about that. And before we go to the editorial analysis, let us have a look at the editorial vocabulary. Some of the words are very important, and you see some words in red. That means they are new, not only new, they are important. What is the first word? Myopic. We have got recently part of speech adjective. One meaning of this word, short sighted, the regular meaning, but the other meaning in this context, part of speech adjective, lacking foresight or intellectual insight. Myopic view, part of speech adjective, what does it mean? To lack or lacking foresight or intellectual insight. Intellectual, it comes from the word intellect. Intellect means knowledge, insight, deep understanding. An important word. Both the words are very important. Intellectual, insight. Penalize, a familiar word. Part of speech verb, it's a regular verb, subject to a penalty or punishment. Generally, we say penalize means to punish. A rage has many meanings. One of the meanings, it goes with anger. Here, it could be a verb, it could be an adjective, used as an adjective. A raging war, generally we say, continuing with great force or intensity. A raging fire, a raging war, continuing with great force or intensity. Regime, we have got many a time. Part of speech noun. A government, especially an authoritarian one, authoritarian, like a dictator. Ostracize. When you see the word in red, remember it's important, not a regular one, you got to remember. Ostracize, part of speech verb. Exclude from a society or group. Ban from a society or exclude from a society. We use the word ostracize. Unprecedented, we have got recently, part of speech adjective. Never done or never known before, never seen before. Transcend, a new word, read, important. Part of speech verb, it's also a regular verb. Be or go beyond the range or limits. Something goes beyond the limits, range of a field of activity or conceptual sphere. Then we say transcend the boundaries, a combination. Solely, you can easily make out part of speech adverb, not involving anyone or anything else, only, exclusively. A rooted, root has many meanings. As a noun, one meaning, as a verb, a different meaning. Here, very strong and firmly fixed. Rooted in something means fixed, firmly fixed in something. Having developed from something, another meaning. Splintered. Splinter could be a verb, could be a noun. In this context, splinter is a regular verb. If you take the past participle of any verb, can be used as an adjective. Based on that adjective, break or cause to break into small, sharp fragments. You take something and break it into small parts, it is called splinter, splintered, an important word. Autonomous, we have got many a time, part of speech adjective. Autonomous university, autonomous body of a country or region having the freedom to govern itself or control its own affairs. This also, in this context, you have to recollect the word you got yesterday, sovereignty, sovereign. But generally, sovereign goes with a country and autonomous go with a particular body, organization. Shear, part of speech verb, cut the wool off an animal, especially a sheep or other animal. Remove the wool at regular intervals. That is known as shearing. There is one more shear, sheer waste of time. The spelling of that double E, but here SHEAR, shear, means remove or cut the wool off an animal, especially a sheep. Aloft, part of speech adverb, it goes with lifting a cup uh, up in or into the air overhead. You lift the cup, then we use this word aloft, an important word. Militate, we have got for the first time, to have weight or effect, or you can also take it as to make an impact, to have weight or effect. Strip, It goes with everyday English. Remove all coverings from. Strip, remove. Glorify, part of speech verb. Describe or represent as admirable, especially. Unjustifiably, not in a justifiable manner, in a different manner. Excuse me. Espouse, an important word. Espouse, part of speech verb. Adopt or support a cause, belief, or way of life. Espouse, an important word. We have got for the first time. Empathize, this is also an important word, but we have got many a time. Understand and share the feelings of another. Put yourself in the other person's position. Empathize, understand his position, his problems. These are the words based on the editorial. And let us go to the editorial. Myopic view. Myopic view. View is a noun. Myopic, part of speech, adjective. What does it mean? Lacking foresight or intellectual insight. You cannot make out from based on these two words, but you can make out something is wrong, not positive, but something negative. Individual sports persons should not be penalized for the actions of their political leaders. Here there are two dimensions. One, individual players, the other one, actions of political leaders. The editorial says, against the backdrop of Russian players being banned from Wimbledon, a prestigious tournament, individual sports persons should not be penalized. Already have got the helping verb should many a time. I'm sure you guys remember the function. It is used to advise or suggest to someone. In this context, it is more like advise. Individual sports persons should not be penalized for the actions of their political leaders. Politics are different sphere, sports are different sphere. Whatever happens in the sphere of or realm of politics, it should not make an impact on individual players. Editorial talks about that against the backdrop of the upcoming Wimbledon tennis tournament. Last Wednesday's decision by Wimbledon to decline. Here, decline means refuse. Many a time you have got the word decline. It has two different meanings. One meaning, decline, to refuse, to say no in this context. What is the other meaning of the word decline? To go down. Standards are declining. Declining standards means what? The standards are declining, going down. Last Wednesday's decision by Wimbledon to decline entries from Russian and Belarusian players for the 2022 edition of the world's premier tennis tournament has opened a can of worms. In this editorial, you come across three idioms. Two of them are very important. This talks about the recent decision by Wimbledon. Wimbledon is one of the tennis tournaments. It's a prestigious tennis tournament. If you take tennis tournaments, four of them are very important. One, Wimbledon, the other, the US Open, the French Open, and the Australian Open. All these come under Grand Slam tournaments. Last Wednesday's decision by Wimbledon to decline entries from Russian and Belarusian players for the 2022 edition of the world's premier tennis tournament, premier, something very important, has opened a can of worms, an important idiom. What does it mean? It means a situation that causes a lot of problems once you start dealing with it. You start dealing with a particular situation, then it causes or poses a lot of problems. Then we say it has opened. It takes a verb open a can of worms. With the Russia Ukraine war raging, an important word, rage means what? In this context, continuing with great force or intensity. Rage generally it means anger, it goes with anger. With the Russia Ukraine war raging, All England club that is related to Wimbledon tournament. The All England club stated that it would be unacceptable for the Russian regime to derive any benefit from the involvement of Russian or Belarusian players with the championships. A statement from, and this tournament conducted by All England club, based on that, a statement from the club. What is that statement? Stated that it would be unacceptable, not acceptable for the Russian regime. A regime we have got so many times. What does it mean? A government, especially an authoritarian one, not acceptable for the Russian regime to derive any benefits, to get any benefits from the involvement of Russian or Belarusian players with the championships. They don't want Russia to derive any benefit from the players or from the championship. Even as the club acknowledged it was hard on individual athletes, Chairman Ian Hewitt said they will suffer for the actions of the leaders of the Russian regime. They admitted, even as the club acknowledged, that's we all know the word acknowledge. One is to accept, to recognize. Even as the club acknowledged it was hard on individual athletes, hard on individual athletes. Athletes are going to lose because if they cannot participate, the ranking gets affected. If the ranking is not considered, then it won't be a prestigious tournament. It becomes a glorified exhibition tournament. Editorial talks about that. Even as the club acknowledged it was hard on individual athletes, hard on someone means difficult for them or it's a problem for them. Hard on individual athletes, Chairman Ian Hewitt said they will suffer for the actions of the leaders of the Russian regime. They means the players will suffer for the actions of the leaders of the Russian regime. Based on this, the editorial says individual players should not be penalized or punished for the actions of the political leaders. The same idea, based on this idea, the editorial has been written. It will affect, again, grammar point of view important. Affect is a verb, effect is a noun. It will affect dozens of players, including men's world number two and reigning US Open champion. A reigning US Open champion means what? The present champion, Daniel Medvedev, world number 8, Andrei Rublev, women's world number 4, Arina Sabalenka, and two-time major winner Victoria Azarenka. The impact is going to be on these top players. The move was by no means unique. An important expression, by no means unique. That means not the first of its kind, not the only one. The move was by no means unique. And to substantiate that statement, an example, an incident, an event. In March, World Athletics had similarly ostracized Russian and Belarusian athletes. It has already happened. And there's one important word, ostracized. Ostracized means what? Exclude from a society or group, ban a particular person or a particular group from the society. Then we use the word ostracize, an important word. But Wimbledon's decision was unprecedented because, unlike other sports, tennis more or less transcends nationalism. Sentence talks about the decision to ban individual players from Russia. The decision was unprecedented. We have got this word recently. Unprecedented, never seen, never known before, never done before. But Wimbledon's decision was unprecedented because, unlike other sports, tennis more or less transcends nationalism. An important word, transcend. Transcend means what? To go beyond the range or limits of a particular field or activity. It goes beyond nationalism. Except in team events. When it comes to team events, in tennis we have team events like especially Davis Cup, and a few players represent a particular country. Except in team events such as the Davis Cup and the Billie Jean King Cup, from which Russia is currently banned. Players' entry into a tournament is based solely on ranking and not nationality. If you don't consider Davis Cup and the Billie Jean King Cup, regular tournaments, especially the Grand Slam tournaments, the entry of a particular player is not at all based on nationality. It is based on the ranking, irrespective of the origin of the player, from where the player comes, that does not matter. Solely, it's an adverb, not involving anyone or anything else only. Criticism from legends like Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova was rooted in this fact. Rooted means what? Very strong and firmly fixed in this fact, having developed from something another meaning. But in this context, it means very strong and firmly fixed. Related to this decision, criticism, some players, some organizations have criticized criticism from legends like Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova was rooted in this fact. So was a pushback, an important expression. Pushback means to refuse, to resist in this context. So was a pushback, this is an important expression. So was a pushback from ATP and WTA, the governing bodies of the men's and women's tours, that Wimbledon could act unilaterally. The fact that Wimbledon could act, a bit difficult to understand, but it means the fact that Wimbledon could act unilaterally has much to do with tennis splintered administration. How could Wimbledon act unilaterally? There's a reason behind. What is it? That Wimbledon could act unilaterally has much to do with tennis. This is an important one. Tennis after that apostrophe, and you don't see the letter S. If a particular word you use a regular apostrophe and the letter S, if it makes hissing sound, then we don't use that. We simply stop with the apostrophe. Tennis, splintered administration, splintered. You can make out administration noun, splintered adjective. What does it mean? Break or cause to break into small sharp fragments, divide into smaller parts. There is no umbrella organization that directs the sport. A particular organization that directs all the tournaments, it is not there. There is no umbrella organization that directs the sport. The four majors, ATP, WTA, and International Tennis Federation act independently. There are so many organizations, they all act independently, and there is no umbrella organization to control or to decide the rules and regulations that go with different tournaments. There is not an autonomous players union either. And there is no union as such. If you take the tennis players across the world, there is no union. There is not an autonomous means independent, players union either. Shorn of checks and balances. That here, shear, shorn. It's a verb. What is the typical meaning of this word? Cut the wool off an animal, especially a sheep. But here it means to remove something, short of something. Shorn of checks and balances, no checks, no balances. Wimbledon, to seemingly avoid the optics of a Russian or Belarusian player holding aloft the trophy. This word goes with a trophy or a cup. A genuine possibility considering Sabalenka was a semi-finalist in 2021, thought it was best to impose a blanket ban. One more idiomatic expression, blanket ban. What does it mean? Complete ban. Here it talks about the reason behind shorn of checks and balances. No checks and balances based on that Wimbledon to seemingly avoid the optics of a Russian or Belarusian player holding aloft the trophy. Optics in this context means an image, a picture where a Russian player holds aloft the trophy, means lift the trophy. A genuine possibility that is possible, considering based on what, considering Sabalenka was a semi-finalist in 2021, thought it was best to impose a blanket ban, complete ban, exactly. But this militates, a new word we have got for the first time. Militate means to have weight or effect, to make an impact. But this militates against the principle of fairness. It is not fair. And equal opportunity and may force the ATP and WTA to strip the event of ranking points, turning it into a glorified exhibition tournament. This sentence says this decision is not fair, but this militates. Militate means what? To make an impact, to have weight or effect against the principle of fairness and equal opportunity. And because it is not, it cannot be justified, may force the ATP and WTA to strip the event of ranking points. Usually, every tournament, the major tournaments, Grand Slams, the players get the points based on that the rankings are decided. Strip the event of ranking points. Strip means to remove in this context. Turning it once the ranking points are removed, obviously it becomes a glorified exhibition tournament. it loses its sheen. Glorified means what? Describe or represent as admirable, especially not in a justifiable manner. The episode also brings into focus the role of the British government. This particular incident, the decision, also brings into focus the role of the British government. Please excuse me. The episode also brings into focus the role of the British government, whose guidelines Wimbledon said it had taken into account. Wimbledon considered the guidelines provided by the British government. The sentence talks about that. Last month, Sports Minister Nigel Huddleston demanded that Russian players attest they were not supporters of Vladimir Putin, despite Medvedev and Riblev publicly calling for peace. This talks about the UK government and the statement given by a sports minister. He wanted Russian players attest. He wanted the players to attest they were not supporters of Vladimir Putin, in spite of the fact Medvedev and Riblev publicly calling for peace. That means they did not support. In fact, Mr. Huddleston's view was similar to the one espoused by Ukrainian players led by Elena Svitolina, a two-time Grand Slam semi-finalist. There's one important word here, espoused, means what? Adopt or support a cause, belief, or way of life. In fact, Mr. Huddleston's view was similar to the one espoused by Ukrainian players, similar, and especially Ukrainian players led by Elena Svitolina, a two-time Grand Slam semi-finalist. While one can empathize is an important word. Empathy, it comes from empathy. Understand and share the feelings of another person. Put yourself in the shoes of the other person. And from this you get EQ. Today people talk about EQ. What are the letters? In the past they would talk about IQ. IQ means intelligence quotient. EQ, emotional quotient. What is this emotional quotient? It is based on empathy. Empathize, understand the other person's situation or problems. While one can empathize with the Ukrainians' feelings, considering the tragic lived experiences, it sets a damaging precedent when nations start penalizing individual citizens for the actions of political leaders. Though we can understand the plight of the Ukrainians, but we cannot do something like this, the editorial opines. The reason being, it sets a damaging precedent when nations start penalizing individual citizens for the actions of political leaders. They should be separated. How does the editorial end? It appears that both Wimbledon and the British government do not want to see the wood for the trees. Another idiomatic expression, see the wood for the trees, British English, same idea, American English, see the forest for the trees. Means what? You fail to see the actual picture, a bigger picture, because you're bothered about the details, an important idiom. This is all about the editorial. Now let us go to questions based on this editorial comprehension point of view. What is this editorial about? What has opened a can of worms? Easy to answer. Not considering the whole thing, a bigger picture. Who had ostracized Russian and Belarusian athletes? Ostracized, one keyword. Navigate, locate, then you find the answer. Players' entry into a tournament is based on what? Is it based on nationality or is it based on individual ranking? Not difficult to answer the question. What does the episode bring into focus? The whole episode, Wimbledon banning individual players from Russia and Belarusia. What does this episode bring into focus? Bring into focus. Easy to answer. That's all about this editorial. Now let us go to practice questions based on exam topics. The first five questions, error location. Please read the first one and try to spot the error. Please excuse me. I saw Jack at a party. Jack should be capital. I saw Jack at a party a few months ago. I think while typing, please don't consider. No, no, don't consider. I saw Jack at a party a few months ago and it did seems fine. No, no, that is while typing, miss the letter S. Don't focus on that. Please don't consider that. I saw Jack at a party a few months ago and it did seems fine. Actual idea, he seemed fine. This is a regular pattern, but when we want to emphasize, we use a different pattern. What do we say? He did seem fine. We cannot use the letter S over here. He seemed fine. He did seem fine. The context goes into the past. What is the difference? He seemed fine, regular pattern. He did seem fine, emphatic. Both are correct. But we cannot use here because the subject is third person singular. It doesn't mean that you have to add the letter S. Two reasons. One, it is in past, did, it is past. And after the helping verb, primary auxiliary, you have to use the basic form or the bare infinitive. Question number two. If a hotel is very expensive, it doesn't mean that its services is best. He did seem fine. Yes, of course. If a hotel is very expensive, it does not mean that we use a short form usually. It doesn't mean that its services, its services are the best. Its services are the best. You cannot use a singular verb, you have to use a plural verb. India is a land of great political leaders who rule the country effectively and also by protecting its national interest. India is a land of great political leaders who rule the country effectively and also by protecting its national interest. No, no, who ruled the country effectively and also protected. This is based on parallel expression. Ruled, protected. The verb should be in the same form. Who ruled, who protected. That is the error, but no one has got it right except Bharadwaj. I see one student and also Kumar. Very good. I don't know how many of you have got it right, but here, who ruled? India is a land of great political leaders who ruled the country effectively and also protected its national interest. Who protected? Ruled, protected. Parallel expression. Question is based on parallel expression. The climbers will try again to reach the summit of the mountain. Their chances of doing so are more better than they were last week. The climbers will try again to reach the summit of the mountain. Their chances of doing so are more better than they were last week. This is based on what we call a redundancy. We cannot use more, better, two comparative forms. Here we should not use the word more. The chances are better than they were last week. Exactly. The chances are better than they were last week. Then it is correct. Question is based on redundancy. In the eve of the election, there was heavy political security in the state. Degrees of comparison, yes. Very good. Who is this? Kumar. In the eve, that is not correct. It's a standard expression, idiomatic expression. We say on the eve of, on the eve of means on the occasion of, before starting a speech, usually. Public speakers, they start the speech with on the eve of Independence Day, on the eve of a particular day or event, a standard expression. In is not correct, it should be on. Question is based on idiomatic expression. Now let us go to para jumble, an important one, a bit difficult, you got to read carefully. Please don't be hasty. On the eve means on the occasion of. Take elimination approach after incorporating. Cannot be the first one. Such a critical aspect cannot be the first one. The government has had promised to examine the feasibility of a fresh hold this one. One hopes cannot be the first one and cannot be the first one. Used to estimate cannot start and cannot be the first one. Of equal import cannot be the first one. So what is the first one here? C is the first one. The government had promised to examine the feasibility means possibility, of a fresh consumer spending survey over 2021 and 21-22. What is the next one immediately? This is incomplete. You can make out based on the comma. CA, one pair. After incorporating all data quality refinements mooted by a panel, CA, one pair. Yes. There is a clue for you. After incorporating all data quality refinements, where do you find the word refinements? Based on that, you can make out what is the third one. The government had promised to examine the feasibility of a fresh consumer spending survey over 2020, 21, 21, 22 after incorporating all data quality refinements. Not B. D is the third one. One hopes the exact refinements. Here you have refinements. One hopes the exact refinements are spelt out. Continuation. Based on that, one hopes the exact refinements are spelt out upfront in the upcoming survey. Easy to make out. D is the third one. After that, fourth one also not that difficult. Easy to make out. One hopes the exact refinements are spelt out upfront in the upcoming survey. Very good. No, not and it may, no. There's a full stop here, then you cannot. G is the next one, very good. Of equal importance, short form import. Of equal importance is providing data comparable with past numbers while factoring in changes in consumption patterns. It is not complete and it may still not be too late to release the previous service findings to help assess longer term trends. GE1 pair. 5, 6, 6, 7, very easy, should not be that difficult. If you get GE, then it becomes easy. You are left with the absence of official data on such a critical aspect of the economy used to estimate poverty levels, rebase GDP, and to make private investment decisions for over a decade is damaging to India. So, what are the last two? BF. Now, what is the correct order? CAD, GE, BF. This is the correct order. CAD, GE, BF. Not that easy. You got to be a little careful. Oh, I'm sorry. Please don't work on these. I forgot to work on those. You can have a look tomorrow. Please go to idioms. Pleasant morning. Of course, it has to be. Please try to get the exact idiom based on the meanings. To profit from a craze. Obviously, para jumbles are quite challenging. How to get para jumbles? You have to read a lot and expose yourself to a variety of contexts. And you should, once you get exposed to a variety of contexts, you understand how the writers present information. You get exposed to the language, the link words, the broad framework, and that helps in the long run. Otherwise, para jumbles are not easy and also risky. What is the reason? You have negative marking. Once you go off the track, then it becomes a problem. You may lose 2 or 3 marks, not advisable. I usually tell students, don't touch para jumbles. First, you have a look. If you are very confident, you answer. Otherwise, don't. But there also, you can be selective. You are sure about the first one, answer. You are sure about 5 and 6, answer. But you are not sure about 2, 3, 4, don't touch. Better leave. Don't try to touch when you are in doubt. To profit from a craze, what is the answer? Jump on the bandwagon. That is the answer. Fifth one, or E. Feeling of a need to travel. Some people want to travel all the time. Then we say he has itchy feet or she has itchy feet. An imaginative but entirely unrealistic idea, something that is not practical. Flight of fancy. Fancy means imagination. Answer is C. Anything superfluous or unnecessary, not required, unnecessary. Fifth wheel, we need only 4 wheels. Fifth wheel, unnecessary. You can easily guess based on that. Excuse me. In adverse circumstances, one welcomes any source of relief, anything, adverse situation, whatever comes your way, you accept. This is an important one. Any port in a storm. Has anyone got all the 5 idioms correct? Word of the day I have brought for a change to give you an idea how to learn vocabulary. Whenever you come across a new word, first you have to write the word and write the part of speech. Abandon is a verb, it's a regular verb. Then the meaning, cease to support or look after someone. Desert, to leave a place, thing, or person, usually forever. Word forms, you have to learn the word forms. Abandon verb, abandoned, past participle form can be adjective, abandoning noun. Word combinations, very important. Abandon someone, abandon something, a person or a thing. To be abandoned, passive voice. Synonyms, turn, turn one's back on, not to support. Leave high and dry. Leave someone high and dry. That's an idiomatic expression. Turn one's back on. How to become a native speaker? Why do you want to become a native speaker? Do you mean when it comes to English? Synonyms. Antonyms: stick by, continue, keep. Example: he was abandoned by his mother. She abandoned the vehicle somewhere. It goes with persons, it goes with things. Let us go to the last slide, editorial vocabulary enrichment. Please answer the question, Krishna. Sir, how to become a native speaker? You mean to say you want to speak like a Britisher or you want to speak like an American? We use native speaker. This expression refers to Britishers and Americans. A match was abandoned due to lack of audience. That is very unfortunate. Myopic, part of speech adjective. Oh, I'm sorry. What is here? Lacking foresight. E is the answer. Part of speech adjective. What? No, no, I will not say that. Don't try to speak like a native speaker. Speak like an educated Indian with neutral accent that is respected around the world. In the past, people would talk about British model, British English, American English. When it comes to pronunciation, speak like an American, speak like a Britisher. Now you don't have to do that. Speak like an educated Indian, an intellectual with neutral accent. Neutral accent is enough. You don't have to speak like a Britisher. You don't have to speak like an American. You don't have to ape. What is the word ape as a verb? Blind imitation. Not required. People should understand your English. Your English should be universally intelligible. That's enough. For that, you need neutral accent. Neutral accent. Today, if you take our news readers, the channels like NDTV, India Today, Times, all those who come and the reporters and those who participate in the discussions, they speak excellent English, but they don't sound like Britishers, they don't sound like Americans. We don't have to, not required. Sound like a typical standard educated Indian, that's enough. Penalize verb, what does it mean? Punish. Punish someone, subject to punishment, you can say. Raging, rage, noun, raging. In this context, adjective, raging war. So what does it mean? I think I'm not writing the parts of speech. Raging war, you can make out it is an adjective, but what does it mean? Continuing with great force. Ostracize, part of speech verb. Exclude from a society, an important word. Transcend, a regular verb, means what? Go beyond a sphere of activity, go beyond the range. Splinter, it could be a noun, it could be a verb. Splinter, to break into small, sharp fragments. Sheer, careful with spelling. Exactly. It's a mix of British and Indian, standard Indian accent. Because he was born and brought up in the UK, his schooling in the UK. That's why he sounds different, a little different from standard Indian accent. Sheer, careful, it comes under confusing words. It's a verb. What does it mean? To remove. Cut the wool off. But in this context, remove. Militate, a new word, an important word. Militate, to have effect or an impact, to weigh on something. Espouse, adopt a cause, belief, another important word from today's editorial. Aloft, part of speech adverb, lift something. Usually it goes with a cup or a trophy. B is the answer. I'm sorry, up or into air. C. Has anyone got all the 10 correct? That's all for today. Exactly. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. Do remember to subscribe and share and join the Telegram group. After the session, go to the description of the video and there you see